did. So we're on to project updates.
Yes,
then.
I have nothing here. These are the ones where I turn into the grumpy child. In project updates, I've got nothing, and in Who or What's Impressed, I've got no one. So these two last sections are yours and yours alone, Nicola. I'm like on the boarding school holidays. It's no, it's raining. I did warn you yesterday.
Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life, with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
All right, thank you. Tell me about your week.
Right, well, it's been a hot week in Stoupa this week. It's been I think we're up to 26 indoors in the shade right now, and it's been the sort of 30s every day. A bit of thunder, clouds, but no actual rain, and they go away again very conveniently just before sunset. So that's rather nice. It's been really good. So I've been spending a lot of time on the beach, which has been interesting. So I've been having to get back into the swing of that. You know, what do I do on the beach? I've found myself a bit, clicky, a bit, looking at my phone a bit too often. So I've had to re-tutor myself in the art of reading a book and not interrupting myself to do it. Lots of swimming, a bit cold.
You're such a funny person. You're the only person I know, I think, who could ask herself, what do I do on the beach?
Well, it's the brain, isn't it? The brain never shuts up, does it?
Well, yours doesn't. No, I don't know what it's saying to you. It's noisy anyway inside your head, isn't it?
It is noisy inside my head, yeah. So so it's I've been going up because I find holding my phone all the time is quite painful. So
I agree with you. I've got RSI in my left hand from holding my iPad, and when I got it out of my handbag this morning, I thought that's so heavy, and it never used to feel heavy to me at all. It's got heavier.
Yeah.
Weird.
So I agree. I get stretch.
Yeah.
My thumb tendons get stretched. So I'm going up to the book swaps and getting paperbacks, because of course the new arrivals this year, they all bring the latest books with them, and then when they finish them, they put them in the book swaps because they don't want to carry them home again.
Oh, quite.
So you get all the good books for free.
Yeah.
What else has happened? Sarah's arrived. She arrived a couple of days ago, and I heard her wheeling her suitcase up the road and give her a shout. And so we've spent a bit of time on the beach together, and that's all going good. She's in the house next door, so it's nice. We've got a bit of privacy and break from each other, so we're not on top of each other like we would be if someone was living here.
How long is she staying for?
She's here for a month.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I'm going to Dublin in August for a few days, which means a couple of days either side in Gatwick. And then Phoebe's coming back with me, I think, for a week, because she's decided she wants a week on her own with her ma.
Okay.
Lying on a sunbed and not doing much else.
Right. You see, she can do it.
Well, she can easily do it.
Yeah, she can teach you how to be on the beach without asking, what do I do here?
I know. It's all right. I adjust eventually. Swimming is good because you can't take your phone or a book in the sea.
Oh, my word. That somebody would even contemplate that, you are mad.
Well, I have thought about how to waterproof things.
I do have a waterproof cover for my Kindle, and I do have a swim pool chair that I sit in the pool and read, and that means you can just be cool. Well, you can be cool in the water for hours and hours and hours while you're reading. Lovely.
I know, nice. See, I fancy that quite a lot.
Mm.
So,
but on the beach, you'd have to have it tethered. I've thought about this a lot. You'd have to have it on a long rope, which was tied to a stake or a heavy stone. Because if you've got, I don't think in Stoupa you've got a busy tide, but
no, we haven't.
Anywhere almost else in the world that isn't terribly sheltered, you'd wake up in Croatia or somewhere.
Yeah. Albania.
Yes, quite. Not desirable.
Yeah, so talking of which, my Albanian cleaner didn't turn up this week, and she has had apparently an emergency gallbladder operation.
Oh.
And because we were talking only a couple of weeks ago about the fact that I've had my gallbladder out and she's got a gallstone, and I was saying, can't you have an operation? And apparently it's like $4,000 for an operation like that here. But because she suddenly became an emergency, she got it done for free, because you don't pay for emergency surgery in Greece, apparently.
Did you have yours out in the end?
Well, I don't know if they actually took it out.
I don't think you did. I don't think you did. I think it just went away, didn't it?
Well, no, they took the stone out.
Oh, right. Yeah, but I don't think you had your gallbladder out. I think you'd know about it if you'd had your gallbladder out.
Well, it's not used for much, apparently. It makes bile, but we don't...
No, but my friend Nicola had hers out. She's got 3 keyhole surgery scars around her belly button.
Oh, I've definitely got 3 keyhole surgery scars.
Wait, is that from that operation?
Yes. And I had to have a drain. The drain was the most painful.
Oh, sounds like you've had your mouse out, as we used to call it. We used to call it her mouse because the surgeon said it's about the size of a mouse, a gallbladder.
Yes. Well, I think they might have taken mine out at the same time as the stone.
Well, if I was going in with 3 holes in your tummy, I'd take your gallbladder out at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. Because you don't want it doing the same thing again, do you? Making more stones.
Wasteful, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. And we don't need it, so there you go.
No, it doesn't do anything useful, no.
Yeah. And that's pretty much it for my week that I'm not going to cover in my other sections.
Okay, all right. Well, I don't remember when I've had such a quiet week. In fact, I beseeched you yesterday that we didn't record today because I've got absolutely nothing to tell you, but I'll do my best in the early sections, which is, as you know, well, the rain has been biblical here this week. All day on Monday, it rained for hours and hours and hours, which is good for me because it means I don't have to water the garden later. In fact, is that it starting again? No, it won't. I'm in the conservatory, and when it rains in here, that's quite a noisy business. And actually, that's the washing machine. But as I look out, I've got the door open, and I look out. I mean, obviously, the garden benefits from it enormously, as I bored on last week about as well. And it makes me on light duty. So it just isn't the rain I'm against. It's that you can't go anywhere and do anything really, or it's a bit of a pain to go anywhere and do anything. But yesterday, something really weird happened. So nothing has happened in my life except water fall from the sky for what feels like days, honestly. Right. And then yesterday, I thought, right, let's get a grip. And I phoned the laundrette because obviously you can't. The only place to dry clothes at this house, when I came round for the recce, I said, how do you dry your clothes? And she pointed to a clothes area in the garden. Well, can't dry my clothes in the garden, can I, if it's raining endlessly?
No.
So I phoned the laundrette, Shades of Wincanton, and said, how much to do a duvet cover, a fitted sheet and 4 pillowcases? And he quoted me, but he said, obviously he couldn't do it today, which was yesterday. Oh, I said, why not? He said, I haven't got any water. Okay, all right then. And I noticed Heidi Wells on Facebook saying she hadn't got any water. And then I noticed water wasn't coming out of my kitchen tap. And then suddenly I realised I was in a trending thing on Twitter where locally all the schools had to be shut. There's no water water to homes, offices, businesses or schools. The schools had to shut and send the children home. And so there's the irony of all of this natural resource falling from the sky for days on end, but that Thames Water somebody had pressed a button and taken it out of, I don't know, thousands of homes. So no showering, no flushing the loo, nothing. Like being in a foreign country. And funnily enough, I had a lovely shower this morning because it came back on late. But when Nicola and I've told you this before in St. Martin, when the water goes off, which it does regularly in foreign countries, we never think, what are we going to drink? We think, how are we going to shower?
Yes.
There's an obsession with showering.
Yes.
But there's a sort of double whammy of often in England, we have droughts in the summer, don't we? Yes. Where you're not allowed to water the garden and helicopters fly overhead to police that your lawn is yellow, not green, all that kind of thing.
I didn't know.
And you think, why doesn't this add up? That there's all this wetness on one side and all this lack of tap-based resource on the other side. Now, I'm sure it's a lot harder to do to organise water in, water out than it is to sneer at. I hope so. But the irony was not lost on me yesterday. As I sat dirty and unflushed with rain falling from the sky.
Well, I think the rain falling from the sky is next year's supply. Because it takes a while to get from where it lands.
I agree, but I don't think it takes a year. I mean, it falls into a reservoir, doesn't it? And somebody's got to manage it.
Yeah, I'm sure our listeners are absolutely riveted by this conversation.
Well, I think Londoners will be obsessed with it. And don't forget that, the people that are around me on Facebook, here we sat in the rain and we couldn't do anything watery. It is quite funny, actually.
That must be annoying. I must say.
I told you I'd had a quiet week, honestly.
I didn't realise quite how quiet.
No, well, I had one plan yesterday morning at 8:30 in the morning, and today, Thursday, absolutely my entire week is rammed into today. So if we'd been recording tomorrow, I might have something to tell you. But all it's done is rain and rain.
So, okay, so I'm going to ask you one more time in an attempt to elucidate a sensible answer. When you're having a quiet week, what on earth are you doing all the time?
Well, I've got my big financial project.
Yes.
Yeah, but I can't talk about that on the...
No, I know. I realise that. Are you having to do things for it then?
No, but I have to consume an awful lot of information, and I have to get terribly well informed. And I told you about 2 or 3 weeks ago they'd adopted this thing called Discord, which is like a platform for gamers, and we can talk on there using our mouths, and we can talk on there using our fingers, and they disseminate information to us through there. Okay. And so if you've got the talk channel open, it's like Citizens Band Radio, because there are Americans talking all the time and saying things like mic check and 5-5, which means we can hear you clearly and things like that. So I'm soaking up global financial information is the answer, but there's nothing on the telly, so thank heavens for that project. Otherwise, I don't know what I'd be doing. I can't even go for a drive because of the rain, because that would just be too dangerous. Desperate, honestly. Absolutely. Desperate of Hampton, Middlesex.
We'll move on to then and see what if anything's fueled your fire, and if not, I have got some things.
Yeah, you go first. I've got one actually.
Right. Facebook wasn't allowing my V-zine, so I was so over the moon when I realised that I could promote the videos of our podcast to create an audience to advertise.
Yes.
Facebook have they haven't suddenly started allowing my V-zine. I have been working through a process of elimination to see what they actually didn't like. And because I was fired up again by talking to Ilana Weschler, the Green Arrow digital lady, about it all. And she said, try trying different URL landing pages, try getting rid of all the description and just having a really basic description with no links. She said, try different things till you find out what it is they object to. So first of all, I did a promotion of my V-zine that was had all the description in, all the credits, music credits and things like that, but didn't have a link to my website on it. And I can't remember if they let that one go or not. I think they didn't let that one go. And then I found out it had a hidden link to my website in the description. So next thing I tried was a very basic description, no links to anyone's websites, and no button, no learn more button or anything like that. Anyway, they let me promote that. So I thought, okay, we're on to something now. It's not the actual V-zine itself they don't like. It's something in the description. So then I tried a description with all the credits in and no links to my website. So that worked. They let me run that. And then I tried a link to a version of the V-zine with the description in, but no, with a link to a previous URL on my website that they have approved, which is my /training, which is where people can sign up for the Be Everywhere online webinar and get a free copy of my book. And they allowed that too. So I'm back in business with my V-zine as long as I don't include a link to my main homepage in the description or the button.
Now, what don't they like about your homepage?
I don't know. I think they've got a blanket ban on my home URL. Because every time I use it in anything, they say it's a multi-level marketing or get-rich-quick scheme.
And what was very funny about that sequence of events you just described was there was one that they allowed which would have no point in paying any money for it because it didn't go anywhere.
Well, the thing is, it does have a point, even if it doesn't go anywhere, because what it's doing is creating an audience watch it through. Yeah. And then I can advertise something to that audience. But
as long as it doesn't involve your homepage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I can send people to a page where they can buy my book. I can send people to a page where they can sign up for a free webinar and get a free copy of my book. But I can't send them to my homepage to let them make their own way through, anyway.
It's like operating with one arm behind your back.
It's a little bit like that, yes. Anyway, yeah. So anyway, I'm happy because I've been thinking about the problem with advertising the podcast, which I'm not going to stop doing just yet because I'll tell you why later. I can't get captions on it. I can't afford I don't want to afford $60 a week to get the whole thing captioned. And the problem with our video of our podcast is there's no movement on it at all. So although there is a big sort of play arrow triangle on it, why would people click play unless they like the look of the picture and the description, the title of the podcast episode? So anyway, 2 weeks in, people are clicking that play button.
No, but I don't know if you've looked at the people who are liking our page as a result of it.
No, I haven't yet.
Well, they're not your ideal client or mine.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's interesting because I'm only advertising it to a very tightly targeted bunch of people.
Yeah, well, a lot of people would... Well, go and have a look.
Okay, yes. I understand what you're saying, yes.
Yes.
Well, I'm only advertising it in the UK, so that's really interesting too.
Well, I did have a strange communication as a result of it as well, because what happens is, obviously, they like the podcast and then they see it's you and they see it's me. And then I got a message from somebody who ironically said, "Tell me how to get rich quick." I just banned him because it's not something I do. And, how long... I would need you for 15 years, mate.
Yeah, really. So that's but I felt encouraged by that because it means that I've not, I wasn't taking it personally. I was taking it personally up until that point. Now I realise it's something to do with my homepage I don't like. Whether that will change when the new website goes up, I don't know.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, obviously the logical next step is to clean up that homepage as far as possible until it does get approved.
Well, perhaps, but it's never going to get approved if they've just got a blanket algorithm ban on it.
No.
I really need to talk to a real person about this.
Yes, quite.
But they're very vague about things. Anyway. So in the meantime, the Money Gym audio version is still awaiting approval on Audible. I got my opening credits and closing credits were refused due to overly loud bird song.
Yeah. When I listen to our podcast, we've got overly loud birdsong. As if that's a crime. That seems like rather a good thing, doesn't it? I
know, that's what I thought. So anyway, I shut all the doors and windows, and before I could start sweltering too badly and die of heat exhaustion, I managed to re-record the credits, opening and closing credits. So I've resubmitted them songs birdies, and we'll see if that gets passed. I'm pretty sure it will, and if it does, I'm going to go on and do some of my other books as well because
I do think that's a lovely thing, is we can't get any useful feedback out of Facebook at all, but Audible gave you the most specific feedback known to man. The bird song is too loud. That's so sweet.
I know. I thought that was very cool.
Yeah.
Because, otherwise I wouldn't have known what was wrong, would I?
No.
I mean, anyway, moving on. So I'm quite excited by this because I've got some plans. I've been talking to my publisher about the plans for a week-long promotion. And obviously I'm not going to be able to do any Facebook ads because the Money Gym looks like get rich quick.
Yeah.
Oh, the irony again. So I'm going to do Facebook Lives every day, covering a chapter of the book, which they can't prevent me from doing at all, but may work or may not. I'm not sure. So that's my week. What's been fueling my fire? What about you? Anything at all?
Yes.
Oh.
On Friday, we did the 4 recordings of the next bunch of listener guests, and actually that's been the highlight of my week. I get a total buzz out of either giving them a platform to tell their story or try their hands nervously at podcasting for the first time or share their worldview and wisdom. Highlights for me were meeting a silent lurker in Louise, who we're going to put as our focus of the week today, and that strong sense of fury about the charity sector, which fuels Claire. I was really inspired by her fury all week, because as I said in that section, I'm so apologetic about mine. And fury is passion, and passion changes things and gets things done. So I found all 4 of those conversations that we had, well, they fueled my fire really for our podcast, and because most of them either are or have been or might be or whatever clients, it was lovely. I'm proud of them when they come on and they do their little bit, and they're also nervous, and then they're also wonderful.
I know. Yeah, they were crackers this time, weren't they? Well, they weren't last time. They were. And
great. I stacked you up with 4 more interesting ones in about a month's time.
Lovely. The thing I really like about it is that, whenever people turn up and try and pitch people to us, I can say quite happily, we only ever feature our listeners.
Yeah.
So,
and don't you feel a sort of proud glow when you say that?
I do.
Yes.
I do, yeah.
Yes.
It's because let's face it, if I was going to go out to try and find podcasts to be on, I would at least do the courtesy of listening to one or two, so that I knew if I was going to be a good fit or not. But people.
Well, I think there's two ways of doing it, isn't there? There's that nice, Mark Moyni's girlfriend does that commercially for people. She gets people podcast slots, and clearly, if you've got a publishing organ, you need content. So, there are people who would be pleased to have commercial approaches from interesting people. We're just not in that gang. We only want it's actually commercial versus authentic. And actually, my client yesterday morning at 08:30, naming no names, she reminded me again. I mean, we just might as well have called this podcast Two Women Chatting, brackets, and every now and again there's a third one, because that seems to be, it's the stories, it's the humanity that is the appeal.
Okay, so focus of the week. Then you're gonna tell us a bit about Louise.
Yeah, I am. Louise was our silent lurker, and actually, I realised once we started talking to her, I did know who she was. But she told us this. She's an artist, and she told us this fantastic story about coming to London for a woo-woo gig, and that she wasn't a particularly woo-woo person. She folded her arms across her chest metaphorically and rolled her eyes a lot. And the gig was with two women who've both been on this podcast, Georgina Noel and Alice Sheridan, and she went. That Louise, well, you'll hear, but she went back up to her husband in Yorkshire, and everything changed from there on. So she called it, getting out of your own way. And how would she recommend that we do that and surrender the struggle? LouiseFletcherArt.com and Facebook.com/Louise Fletcher Art. We loved her art, didn't we?
We didn't. I particularly loved her website because it was lovely and clean and nice. Let's have a listen.
Okay. So, good morning, Louise Fletcher. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. I'm so excited. It's like being with famous people.
Well, you're not nearly as excited as we are, because we not only don't know who you are, I've no idea I know what your topic is, but I don't even know what you're going to say in it. So it's actually like a double treat for us this morning. What I'd like you to do is take 2 minutes to tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, where you live, and all that kind of stuff, and how people can find your website. And then we'll invite you to, and then I'll pop back in again and say, right, tell us what you're going to tell us.
Okay. And I probably don't even need 2 minutes, but I'm Louise Fletcher. I'm an artist, although I wasn't until very recently. And that's part of what my story is about. I spent most of my adult life living in America and Canada. I was in Toronto and then New York, until 7 years ago when I realised I was horribly homesick, and we came home, and I now live in the Yorkshire Dales with my husband and with our Romanian rescue dog called Riley. My website is www, of course, LouiseFletcherArt.com. I'm also Louise Fletcher Art on Facebook and on Instagram, and those are the two places I use, and that's really it.
Okay, so I did have a quick look this morning at your Facebook, and I saw that you'd trained in somewhere like Ilkley, and I thought, oh, goody, she's a northerner.
Yes.
Are you?
Yes, I am. I'm from, I was born in Yorkshire. My husband was born in Lancashire, and there's a bit of a, as you probably know, a bit of a thing between them. So when we moved back home, I said, I am not living in Lancashire. We are going to Yorkshire. So we're we're right 2 miles from the border with Lancashire, but we're on the right side.
And remind me that it's the Wars of the Roses. So which one is which? Which one's red and which one's white?
White's Yorkshire.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Cool. I think we lost.
The most exciting thing for Nicola and I is you're a silent lurker, aren't you?
I am, yes. I discovered you 3 months ago, probably, via Alice Sheridan, who obviously you know, and she's been on the podcast, and she recommends you all the time. And so I began listening on my drives and on my dog walks, and I listen to every new one, but I'm going back through all of the old ones.
Oh, good for you.
So it's very exciting, but I'm a silent lurker only because I have so many Facebook groups and so many things that I never get around to actually popping up and saying hello. And when I heard you say you were looking for guests, I said, oh, okay, I shall say hello now.
Okay, marvellous. Now, what are you going to talk to us about today?
So I want to talk about getting out of our own way. And I initially called this supercharging your life by getting out of your own way, because I have had a major life transformation in the last year. But I was stopping myself from it for maybe 20 years. And I suspect lots of other people are doing the same. So that's my topic. And if I can kind of give you like my 5-minute story.
Yes, please do.
That might make more sense.
Yeah.
So I spent the first part of my life, I was an HR executive living in America. And in 2003, I started my own business, which was resume writing, CVs, bios, letters for executives. And it was not my passion, but I was very, very good at it. So we did very well. And we hired freelance writers. It was the early days of internet marketing, which obviously Nicola knows well. It was easy to get clicks and very cheap to market yourself. And we just did great. But as it got harder over the years, it got more competitive. I had to take on more work myself to keep our income at the same level. And I find myself burning out. And when I look back, I can see that moving back to England was a catalyst for everything else to change, because when I moved abroad, I was too young to have my own personality, really my own kind of sense of myself. And I changed to fit in. And I was never myself. And when we moved home, suddenly I felt like myself again. That's the only way I can describe it. And that meant that I got inspired to make art again, which is something I had stopped doing. But I knew that I couldn't be a full-time artist because I worked too hard on my business. Artists don't make any money, and I wasn't talented enough. So as I got more and more interested over the last few years, on the side, I wrote a blog about art. I built a Facebook group for artists, but I kept working long hours on my business, convinced and miserable that I couldn't do anything else but do this on the side. And October of last year, I went on a retreat. I was just so fed up with Alice Sheridan and another lady that you both know, Georgina Noel. They were running a very woo-woo retreat, and I am the least woo-woo person in the world. And Georgina said that I spent most of the first day, she said, metaphorically rolling my eyes. But in the course of the 2 days, she systematically stripped away every one of my limiting beliefs and made me realize that they were not facts. They were shackles that I had put on myself. And there was a lot of crying. And as I left, Georgina said to me, and this is the part Judith will love, she said, the universe is now going to start helping you because you've become clear that you want an art business. And so I rolled my eyes again and I went home. But I started to think on the way home, we had just inherited a little bit of money. And I thought, I could pay freelance writers for a few months while I worked on building something. And that's where the woo-woo kicks in. Because when I got home, my husband said, I've been thinking, why don't we invest that money that my dad gave us so that you can do something with your art business?
Wow.
And that's the moment I fell in love with your husband.
He said, we're both a bit fed up of this other business. I think you could do something with this. So I hired Georgina for another few weeks as my coach. And I'm not kidding, 3 weeks later, I had an idea for an online course for artists. I said to Georgina, I'm going to do this in 2 months' time when I've got the content worked out. And she said, no, just launch it now. And it'll be fine. You'll come up with ideas. So I did. I launched it that week. I sold it out. I decided to only have so many places. They all sold out. The content just came to me every week. I got a new idea and I did it. People loved it. I know this sounds ridiculous, but it was so easy compared to the hard work of the last 20 years. It was just like, oh, this is like breathing again. And I loved it. And when the courses ended, I did one, and then the people liked it so much, they said, could you keep going? So I made up a second course. So the first course was called Find Your Joy, and it was for ladies 50 and older who wanted to find their voice through making art and wanted to have fun with it. And the second course was called Find Your Voice, and it was about how to then start turning it into real art, really. And when those courses ended, I started to think about how to sell my own art, and I've been doing that ever since. I market it online. I invite people to come to my studio and see it in person, and I sell it from my house. I affiliate market another course. I just finished doing that and did well with that. I do a weekly podcast with Alice Sheridan called Art Juice. I write a blog about art. I run a Facebook group. I'm doing my courses again in August. And I love it all. And the best thing is I'm going to make more money this year from this than I ever did with the other business.
That's wonderful.
Which my husband is still running. So that's ticking along, not as well as it was, but it's still going. And that's so the point of all of this story, I think, is that I argued so much with Georgina for those limiting beliefs. And when she challenged them, they all just collapsed. And what I learned from this is that if you just get out of your own way and stop trying to impose yourself on life, the universe really does give you more than you could have ever dreamed of, because this life now, I wake up and I'm so excited every day instead of beaten down and depressed, which is what I realise now that I was. And so that's my sermon.
Well, you're preaching to the choir here, obviously, but
yeah.
the brilliant thing about the story is that, as I always say, when it's right, it's easy. And
yes.
Struggle is always an indicator something's not right.
Yes, it's true. And I knew that, but I thought...
You'd taken on all of these self-protective constructs over decades.
Yes.
It's fine.
Yes.
It's absolutely fine, Louise. I know who you are now as well, because you're Alice's podcast partner. I've worked with. And I knew that in advance. I don't know how I'd managed to forget that. Brilliant. This is a great story. Nicola, what do you want to throw at Louise?
Well, first of all, your paintings are absolutely stunning. I've been stalking you while you've been talking.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely stunning. Particularly love the pinky shade ones, Dawn's Echo, The Performance of Heaven.
Oh, they're just my newest ones that I've just finished. Thank you very much.
Stone and Sky, I would have bought that. That's gorgeous. Lovely. The website's fantastic. I mean, if any artists are listening, please go and have a look at. And I know Alice Sheridan's website's gorgeous as well. It's a very simple website. It highlights your art. It highlights your courses. There's nowhere else to go except to know exactly what you're trying to do. And your pictures of yourself are joyful and enthusiastic and connect with the viewer immediately. So well done on the internet marketing front.
Thank you.
Thank you. At all.
It's funny because I was just going to say, I've been following, you always talk about Gary Vee, and I've been following him since I started my business. So he was doing his wine business when I started. And he was one of the first Twitter people, and so was I, but he was a bit more successful with it than me. But
because he focused on it and he spent all his waking moments doing it.
Exactly, and I didn't have that. I didn't have that kind of energy. But what I did learn from all those people back in those early days was this internet marketing. That again, when you're doing it for a business that you don't love, it's very difficult to keep coming up with blog posts.
It's impossible.
And when you're doing it for something you love, it's like, oh, great, I get to write a blog post. Great, I get to do some Instagram posts. It's not hard. And that's the thing that is the revelation to me. And one of the things Georgina said to me in that meeting was, you can keep arguing with me if you want to be miserable.
Lovely. And I love that story too, because I'm exactly that kind of person. I would have a brain fart, go on one of these things, think to myself for the first day or two, what on earth am I doing here? And then gradually open up and get the benefit from it all. How is your Instagram account doing? I can imagine that by putting your pictures on Instagram, you're really attracting a lot of people, aren't you?
Yeah, well, it's I'm not doing as well with Instagram as I would like, and I'm doing some experiments, and maybe I'm not doing it right at the moment, but because Instagram never worked for my other business because it's not a visual business, so I never really used it. So I'm up to about 2,300.
Okay. Well, I can spot one thing you can improve straight away, which is to add Instagram into the share this things at the bottom of your pages.
Oh, is it not there?
No, everything else is there, but not Instagram. So that'll help. people will be able
Thank
to
you.
share it.
Well, I find Facebook easy. I actually have someone doing Facebook marketing for me, and I found her before I even heard of you, Nicola. So,
Yes, right.
but she's done an amazing job with Facebook, and she does run the ads on Instagram, but I find them much less effective on there.
And the other thing, just a quick thing, is okay. So I can share your website onto everything except Instagram with the buttons at the bottom.
Yeah.
But nowhere can I see how to go to your Instagram account, for example, or your Facebook page, or there's no links.
Oh, isn't that there should be? I bet I accidentally removed them because I do
accidentally remove them. Yes, it's easy done. But the first thing I want to do if I go to someone's website, especially someone visual like this, is go and subscribe to them on Instagram at the very least.
Yes, what a good idea! Thank you.
Make that easy.
Yes, I shall.
I want to follow you on Facebook. I don't want anything coming into my email inbox.
Yes,
so the same need from both of us, but the different route.
Yes, got it. Okay, yes, and that's interesting. Actually, I don't know what you're finding, but I'm finding email harder and harder to get people onto a list.
It is, yeah, and that's why if you've got a Facebook page, I think you should be on your contact us page having a link to your, learn about chatbots, learn about look at ManyChat, learn how to use ManyChat, because if I come to your contact page or your about page. If there's a link to your chatbot, then and that will become obvious how to do it when you work through it. I would come straight through, and I would click to send you a message.
And Nick, Alice has communicated with me by chat messenger bot thing, so she knows a little bit about that.
Yes, she's done that with me too.
Yeah.
And I think I have somehow started ManyChat, and sometimes people sign up for it, but I don't know what it is and I don't use it. So
well, what ManyChat will give you is a little short URL. It will be something like Louise messenger.me/Louise Fletcher or something, and you can add that as a link on your contact and about page, and it enables people to contact you.
Perfect.
No, sorry. Could we get back to the point here?
Hang on,
okay.
No, I've really got something very important to say.
Go on then.
Louise has got another course there because it's how to make sure, how to market yourself authentically as an artist. And, you do it very, very well, missing icons notwithstanding. And you could teach a very simple course to people on how to do a very good website, how to hook up your social media, etc.
However, as Alice will tell you, I don't like my artists spending too much time away from being artists.
Yeah.
Some, do you want to be an artist? Do you want to teach it? I know they're not mutually exclusive, and many of my arty clients do like to do both.
Yes.
For reasons which I think are really rather obvious. One can be quite lonely and isolating, and one is, with your peers. But I think Alice would tell you, and I don't think I'm revealing any secrets here, that, as you get busier on both sides, a bit like the lady before us was telling us, both suffer because there's not enough time, is there, to do justice to both. It's like creating two businesses in a way.
Yes. And one of the things, my goal, what I'd like to do is the course is to run for 4 months of the year. So my courses are not digital where you sign up and then I'm not there.
No.
I'm there full on.
Yeah.
So I'd like to do 4 months of teaching because I do love it. I love it. But then the rest of the year to not have to think about it.
Yes, gorgeous.
But whether that actually works out, because honestly, Alice would say as well that I'm one of the ones pulling her in lots of directions because I have a million ideas. And I'm constantly emailing her and saying, what if we did this? What if we did that? She goes, enough, stop.
Yes.
There isn't enough time.
Let me ask, when you told the story about I came away from London and I created a course and it was easy. Did you already have a following to sell the course to?
I had a small one. So I had an email list of 300 people, artists, and I had a Facebook group of 500.
Okay.
And what I did was I just did Facebook Lives to that group and an email to the other people. I thought, I'm probably going to get like 10 people, but it's a test.
Yes.
So I did that and I said it's limited to 40 people. And it ended up that there were 48 people. and I took all 48.
It's quite a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm very impressed.
Yeah.
But the reason why was that it truly was like a gift from the universe, this idea, because I knew these women. You know how in internet marketing, they always say, develop an avatar of your ideal customer. And I always struggled with that. But I knew this woman. I could picture her, I could describe her, and I could talk to her. And so when I described the course, I knew that it was saying to the right person, that's for me.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean about easy. I've tried that for 20 something years with resumes and never succeeded, really.
I think it takes us a disproportionate amount of time to realize that we're barking up the wrong tree with a business that we've run for a long time.
Yes, because you sold a business, didn't you?
Yeah, because actually it got more and more struggly, and I liked it less and less, and that's the time to let it go. And I think, you had this inheritance. You've matched your income very quickly. It's not long before you'll be able to either sell or close that other one.
Yes.
Oh, I would sell it, definitely. I mean, it sounds like the kind of thing. I mean, Yarrow Starrock had something similar going, and he sold that for a multiple of profit. So it's definitely worth selling it before it runs down.
Well, it's beginning energetically. It's already started its rundown.
Yeah. It has, definitely. It has.
Yeah.
As soon as you pull your energy away from a business, it dies.
That's it. Yeah. So, and I think, what would your husband like to do if he had the same epiphany?
Well, I keep asking, this is the question, and he doesn't have that. I feel sorry for him at the moment. He doesn't have that pull to do anything or that love for something.
Help you build your business.
He can have some space, to be honest, because I think men, I know when my brother retired from his career, he sort of spent 6 months sleeping and then eventually, applied for some charitable gig and then eventually got back into the proper, place he wanted to be in the world. But they don't steer by their feelings as much as we do they?
No.
But I think they don't have the space for that because they've been brought up to be responsible husbands from an early age.
Yeah, and it's quite funny because I'll say now, I've had an idea and I'm going to do this, and he starts off by saying, have you thought? And then he goes, never mind, it's okay.
Yeah, bless him.
He just knows that I'm going to run with it anyway and it's going to be fine. So.
Yes, yeah, good.
Lovely.
So we've got to boot you off in a minute, Louise. Give us one last tip about getting out of our own way.
Oh, what's one tip about getting out of our own way? That's putting me on the spot. I think the tip I would say is ask yourself where you are telling yourself can't.
Yeah.
Where in your life are you saying, I can't? Because there must be a desire behind that can't. And the can't isn't true. So... and if you need to find out that it's not true, you need to maybe talk to Georgina because she'll sort you out.
Yeah, you've just given us, I think, a topic for a whole show. Where's your can't?
Yes.
I'm so pleased we've met you and I know who you are now and you're not a silent lurker at all. I don't know why I was being so dim because Alice talks to me about you all the time. Brilliant. So exciting. And, and as you rightly said, Judith will love this bit. I knew exactly... and Georgina said to you, the universe is going to start helping you. And by the time you got home, it was already happening.
Yeah.
So good. Louise, thank you so much for coming and sharing your beautiful art and your wonderful story.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, there you go. That was good, wasn't it? I really enjoyed that.
Oh, I love a northerner me. I think she's top-tastic bird actually, and good storyteller, good stories. A husband I fell in love with. It was good.
I really like her art too. It was really nice.
Oh, I would definitely buy her art. Yeah,
I could live with it definitely. Right, word of the week then.
Mine's Ark, as in Noah's Ark. I made the joke. I did make the joke to myself on Monday. I think I'm going to put in a phone call to Noah. And then I was talking to somebody on, I think it was Tuesday night, a friend, and she said she made some joke about Noah's Ark as well. I mean, the rain has been like that. Anyway, as I say it's still raining, but the sun shines as well. So it's like a monkey's birthday, I think we call that.
You've got a rainbow somewhere.
Somewhere?
Yeah. Usually in the opposite side to where the sun is. How to find a rainbow. You never thought you'd learn that on this podcast,
I knew that, but it's sunny. It's sunny. It has in all of this rain, it has been sunny as well. It's been, as Crowded House would say, all weathers in one day.
Yes, I was on a sunbed last week, and raindrops started from a thundercloud that sort of zoomed over, and then we all hurriedly packed up and headed for tavernas, and then immediately we got there, the sun came out again.
Well, to be honest, when I'm abroad, if it does that for a bit, I just sit there already in my cosy, and often it doesn't last long, does it?
Yeah, absolutely. Right, so my word of the week, I was going to have to ask you what it was, because I was coming up with all these words beginning with an M that wasn't the word I wanted. And like moderate and mediate.
Oh, good game.
And actually the word I want is moderate. I was looking for the word moderate, and all I could come up with was mediate and all that stuff. Other words I can't remember now. But the word is moderate. I'll tell you why, because my Stoupa life groups are getting a little bit unwieldy, a little bit unmanageable. I've had to be very strict with Stoupa life. There's several people who just keep putting commercial promotions in, and I've had to limit, take out things midweek. I mean, basically, I put up a thing, Small Business Saturday or Small Business Sunday, and they can promote their hearts out on that day. But some people will keep trying to slip their adverts in, because now we've got 1,000 odd people to advertise to. It's getting quite interesting for people at local businesses, and there are some offenders. So I've put them on approval only. And I've said, I've been very clear about what they can do and what they can't do. Now we've got the Stoupa and the Marnie residents group, which is non-commercial, and I've said no promotions. But, of course, people are putting things up for free things. They're putting things up for charity things. People, whenever someone puts something up that people perceive to be commercial, they get reported. I've been called a bully boy today by one of my own members for removing one of his posts. And I'm getting a bit sick of it all because I'm not making any money from it. But then this week I've had two lovely people come up, introduce themselves to me because they've recognised me from my picture on the profile as the moderator. So I don't know what to do about it, really.
In my Discord group that I was telling you about, that I listen to all day, they have a big team of moderators, and it's very strict. Now, sometimes it's too strict for me, and I find myself going all boarding school rebel and going, oh, for goodness sake, like that. But they think it's important, and it's their group, so they run it like that.
Yeah, and that's what, I'm going to...
Would you step down? Why not give the group to somebody else?
Well, I sort of feel reluctant to do that.
You started it. You don't make any money out of it.
I know, but...
Moderation sounds like a chore.
It's not a chore normally. It's only a chore when they get a bit feisty.
Well, we can't... Actually, I wrote some notes down about not the leader of my group, but the second in command is controlling, patronising, egotistical, and he keeps telling us how we should be thinking and behaving, and it feels like mind control and population behaviour management, and it's made me quite angry, and I have to let that go, because actually he's not moderating me, he's moderating other people who I don't see behaving particularly wrongly, and I don't take well to people telling me how I should behave. But if those are the rules of me being in that, if I don't want to abide by those rules, I've got to leave.
Yes. I think the thing is, when it gets to 12,000 or something, I might be able to think of a way of monetising it. But until then, I don't. I'm not bothered. I'm
could you call for some assistance with? So when I've got in this group where there are not dozens. Let's say there are a dozen moderators. They divide up the 24/7 hours between them. So
they're always up to no good when I'm out.
Well, yeah, I'd get some help. So people take a turn. Yeah. It's like going and doing a stint at the library on Wednesday afternoon. For 3 hours, you're the moderator.
Yeah, but then I'm not really good with,
No, you're not, but they could be. Who do you know who's very bossy and well organised locally?
Several people spring to mind.
It's either that or you just let them go to hell in a handbasket, because this is your opinion, isn't it? And sometimes things, when you get to 1,000 people, it gets beyond what you can actually control.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the point of it was to give people a place to talk about how lovely Stoupa is, share their pictures. And I had what I thought was a great idea for monetising, which was that I approached the people who put up the best pictures and say, would you like that turned into...
I remember, and they didn't like it, did they?
No, they didn't like any whiff of commercialisation at all.
So why doesn't somebody, like the guy who called you a bully boy, go off and start his own where it's just commercial?
Yeah, he could do, couldn't he?
Somebody like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're on to project updates.
Yes,
then.
I have nothing here. These are the ones where I turn into the grumpy child. In project updates, I've got nothing, and in who or what's impressed, I've got no one. So these two last sections are yours and yours alone, Nicola. I'm like on the boarding school holidays. It's it's raining. I did warn you yesterday. I said,
I know you did, yeah.
It's not a great day for me to turn up and talk. I've got absolutely nothing to say.
I did offer you the chance not to turn up. Remember, I did say you don't need to turn up.
Yes, but I didn't think that your alternative was better, to be honest.
Well, there you go. Project updates then. So I'm spending £5 a day to promote our podcast to a very tight group of the right kind of people, I thought. And it's definitely making a difference, even though I can see on my stats that not a very impressive, an impressive bunch of people are seeing it. Not an impressive bunch of people are listening really, through to 25% and 50%. But our download numbers have increased quite dramatically. So we've gone for an average of 500 a week, except when we have those exceptional weeks. And so, mean average of 500 downloads a week to a mean average of 900 to 950 a week. So it's nearly doubled our download numbers, which is interesting. And I'm not quite sure how it could have done that unless people are seeing it and then not listening to it in Facebook, but going over to the website perhaps.
And generally speaking, in the bigger picture of podcasts, do people pay to advertise their podcasts?
Yeah, the people who are serious about it do, because it's a good way to grow your numbers fast. And
well, it does sound so from what you've said, but can we tell from the extra 400 to 450 how far through they're listening? We can't, can we, when they download?
Well, if we assume that they're coming from Facebook, we can. If a better way of doing it would be to set a goal in analytics, but that'll only work if they're listening on the website.
Yes, and there's another thing that occurs to me here, which is just having larger download numbers, irrespective of whether there's any value in the extra 400 to 450, may have a value to us.
It does. It makes us a lot more attractive for sponsorship.
Yes. And that's the nonsense of sponsorship, because actually you've got the numbers, but they've no idea whether anybody's actually listening.
Yes, and the other thing that's interesting, stroke annoying, is that we lurked about in the top 100 of podcast, business, management, and marketing for a long time, but we were usually about place 80 out of 100 in what's hot in management and marketing. And then we started zigging about. I noticed it particularly when we were in Vegas, and we started zigging about, and we actually got into the top 40 several times. And that was when we had that really massive week when lots of people, 7,000 people downloaded us in a week. And now we're not in the top 100 at all. So I don't know what's happening with iTunes.
I don't think we experimented with other places to be. We don't really talk about management and marketing very much, do we? Well, we certainly never talk about management at all. Do you know anything about management? I don't.
Well, unfortunately, that's the only place for us.
We did try in personal stories, didn't we? Are you saying that didn't work?
Oh, we're in that, but that doesn't make any difference. That's tiny. So the people we want to be with are people like Chris Ducker, Gary Vee, Mary Smith, people like that who are talking about business online.
But we've dropped out of that.
We dropped out of it completely. Whereas before, we were always in place 80. And then we went from place 80 to in the top 40 occasionally. And now we've just disappeared. So
400 solid listeners
per week
did us better than the current situation.
Well, I don't know is the answer, because I don't know if there's any correlation to our extra download.
I just find this so
I know, it's exasperating.
It is, yeah.
Exasperating. Anyway, moving on.
Anything else in PUs?
No, that's it, I'm afraid.
All right. I do hope somebody's impressed you.
Yes, someone locally has impressed me. Her name is Maria Korma, and she is the lady who runs Marnie Cars and Bikes, and she also runs Maria's Magical Marnie group. And she is just the most exuberant character you've ever seen. She's got bright white blonde hair. She's very voluptuous and wears dresses that show that off to its best advantage. She is always driving a Marnie car around to deliver to customers. She does Facebook Lives from the most unlikely places. God knows how she gets a signal in some of them. But she is constantly, relentlessly upbeat and positive, and I just love her to bits. And you can tell when she's around because she's Nicola d'amour, she shouts her head off. And whenever she drives past her office or the local tavernas, she slows down and shouts hellos to anyone she sees in there. And yesterday she drove past when Sarah and I were having dinner, and she shouted to the people, waiting on, saying, "Drinks for these two on me." She's just incredible. She's a fantastic advocate for her business. She's a fantastic advocate for Stoupa and the whole Marnie area, and I love her to bits. Maria Korma. Go and check out.
Could you please tell us how to spell her name? Is it like a curry?
Yes, it is Korma.
Okay.
Maria Korma, and her group is called Maria's Magical Marnie. And you'll see some amazing photographs in there and some amazing Facebook Lives from the best places all around. Love her.
Cool.
And everyone else does too. They all the other taverna owners, they always look like startled rabbits when she turns her Facebook Live on, but it makes me laugh a lot. Good girl she is. Okay, so you haven't got anyone?
No.
No.
I told you. Nothing. No one.
Okay. Well, that'll be a nice short show then, won't it?
Well, I think it will be with Louise. It'll probably be about 50 minutes plus. Yep.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so we can let you go with honour.
Marvellous. See you next week. Okay. Bye.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.